What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to talk about a super budget knife that is one of the best that you can buy for the money. We're also going to sharpen it because this one didn't come with a very good factory edge. And it would be the cold steel Kudu. The ring lock one is pretty cool too, but I prefer the slip joint one. You can pick these up for around $8. It's a 4.25 inch blade, 5 3/4 handle. It's a 10-inch knife. Half stop. Got a nice long, strong locking spring. You know, it's a stout knife. It's a lot of blade. These are in 5CR. I wish they still made them in 4116. They don't. Now they're in 5CR15. Not a steel that I really particularly care about. However, it's a $8 knife. So, you know, 5CR15 Movi is, I mean, what more can you ask for? Except for when they were in 4116. I have a couple, none of the slip joint ones, but I have two of the ring lock ones that are in 4116. And I can tell you they perform significantly better. However, these don't perform bad. You get a nice thin, I believe it's 2.2 millimeter blade stock. So you get a nice thin stock. You know, flat grind. Don't come down too thin. It's probably at around 18 thousandths behind the edge. Yeah, 18, 19 thousandths. So it's going to make you a good slicer. You got that nice thin stock, so it's going to just pass through material very easily. The 4116 versions definitely had significantly better edge retention. And they sharpen nicer, but this 5CR15 Movi, it sharpens incredibly easy. It doesn't get as sticky sharp as the 4016 does, but it's sufficient for, I mean, $8. What? $8 for this much knife. And you know, it's super light. I believe it's at around let's find out, around 2.5 ounces probably. Okay, 2 3/4 ounces. Yeah, 2.78 ounces. So, you got a 10-inch knife that's under 3 ounces. Like, what the heck? Yeah, these are awesome for the money. They really are. You got that super tough Zytail, you know, a very tough polymer. Get a nice strong spring, and you know, the more pressure you apply here, the harder that spring is. Like right there, I can barely, you know. So when you apply pressure against that spring, you increase that spring's tension against that blade tang, and it just ain't going nowhere. Full flat grind. It's a very shallow flat due to the thin stock. Personally, I wish they would have ground it, you know, at a more aggressive angle, get it a little thinner behind the edge. I'd really love to have one of these at like 10 thousandths behind the edge. That'd make for a really nice slice of knife. But, you know, you're not talking about the toughest steel in the world, so I get it. They usually come with quite good edges. This one, the edge is at least consistent. You know, I don't got no funky bevel. Just very dull. I mean, a lot of people would probably consider that sharp, but to sharpeners, that's very dull. You know, that's probably sharper than the average pocket knife in the average person's pocket. But you know, that's because most people are carrying around dull ass knives. So I just had to. This is at 220 HR. Just had to flatten this bad boy because of doing that thinning I did last night that put a lot of wear on it. And you can see it's, yeah, I had to take quite a bit of material off of it. But we got a nice flat stone now. 60 grit thick powder. Got it flat. 220 grit thick powder on float glass to finish it. And then I took an Atoma 600 and just lightly went over it to, you know, get any teeny little imperfections out of it. I do not like flattening stones. It's something that I truly dislike. But it's always nice to sharpen on a totally freshly flattened stone. That's, to a sharpener, that's luxury, buddy. Off of feel and looks, I'm gonna say this is probably at around 22, probably about 44 inclusive, 22 per side, maybe 21 per side, 21 degrees per side, 22 degrees per side, is somewhere in there. I'm gonna do it at 20, so I'm gonna shallow it up just a little bit. And all I really want to do is just get it to a usable level of aggression and sharpness. I'm not worried about no super hair popping edge. I'm only gonna finish. I'm gonna profile it and finish it on this 220. At least they didn't give me no wonky bevel to work with. At least they gave me a nice, consistent bevel to work with. So, let's do it. Feels like that factory bevel's convexed a little bit. So it's not going to be able to fill it to start with. Okay, so that's probably about 20 right there. Right there. Oh, it's so nice sharpening on a freshly flattened stone. I've got this new CBN plate, the 400, 800, that I need to do a video on. Under the microscope, it looks really nice. Very consistent, very well bedded. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a really nice electroplated resin. CBN stone. Yeah, that factory edge definitely convex a little bit. Okay, we're gonna have to remove some material. I'll get that back section at the end. I don't want to hit the plunge, so I'm gonna work the back section a little bit more carefully like this, but I'm gonna stay off the stone a little bit so I'm not hitting that plunge when I'm working quickly. stone is super square right now. I need to knock the edges off that stone a little bit. Okay, we have a burr. Nice light burr. Maybe a little bit at the plunge. Should be in business now. Okay, we got a burr. Damn, it's already 11 o'clock at night. It's been a fast day. Holy crap. You know, it's annoying when they sharpen knives on belts, you know, and they don't got a nice flat platen to work against, and they come back. It pisses me off. You know, convex edges have their place. Not on pocket knives, in my opinion. See, because of that convex, I'm having to. I can't really feel the factory bevel. So I don't know, you know, I just kind of got to guess at where I'm at as far as, I'm assuming that's around 21, 22. I want to be at 20. So I just kind of got to guess because I can't feel it lock against the stone. And until it becomes flat from, you know, me working the edge, I'm dealing with that rolly feeling convex, and it pisses me off. It's not something I like. It's not something that I like to have to deal with. I just want a flat B grind. If I want a convex, I want to put it on the knife. I don't want it on the knife from the factory. I mean, it's an $8 knife, you know, so I'm not bitching too much in this instant, but I'm just talking about in general. To be honest, I wish I could buy my knives unsharpened. I really do. I wish they would hold so many out and sell them without factory edges to the sharpeners. Man, I would never buy a sharpened knife again. My son just come out wanting to talk. Always make time for my baby boy and baby girl, that's for sure. I don't care what I'm doing. If my kids want to talk, I'm going to stop and I'm going to talk. That's how my parents was with me, and I think I turned out to be a pretty decent person. And I'm going to be exactly the same to my kiddos. Not to mention, I love my kids more than anything in this world. They're amazing children. And, you know, they stay at home. They do good in school. They're not out running around. You know, they both have little part-time jobs. They're good kids. both very smart. I enjoy talking to them very much. My wife is a very intelligent woman, very educated woman, extremely educated woman, actually. And my kids, I'm not saying that I'm a dummy, but, I'm not the smartest person in the world. My wife, highly intelligent. And my kiddos, highly intelligent as well. And I'm truly proud of them. Wouldn't trade them for the world. Okay. No burr yet. There's going to be a little more steel removal to do on this side than the other. I think that bevel is a little lower on this side. My son is also a professional gamer. He plays first-person shooters at a competition level. He's made pretty decent money doing it, too. Come on, focus. Yeah. Make pretty good money playing Fortnite. I actually play with him quite often. I mean, he's the one doing we win a lot, but it's because of him, not me. As he puts it, I'm the support player. That's when we're playing duos. When we're playing squads, I'm the support player. Which I don't mind. I actually enjoy it. I'm more into car and flight simulators than I am first-person shooter games. I really enjoy digital combat, digital combat simulator, DCS, Assetto Corsa, the car simulator. That's more my jam. I'm actually quite good at them. I've been into go-kart racing all my life, as well as riding leader bikes, on the track. Alrighty. Okay. We're starting to get a bit. Work that heel a little bit. Right there, the plunge. One thing about it, this steel is not run overly soft. 5CR 15 MOV is not a very wear resistant steel, but when it's ran, around 58, 59, 60, it actually has a reasonable bit of wear resistance. And performance is actually pretty decent. Okay. Still got a little bit of convexing in that factory belt edge right there at the plunge. That's going to be a pain in the ass to get out. Now that I've started to work in a nice flat bevel, is that a little fly? Started to work in a nice flat bevel, I can feel it. Makes my job a lot easier. Okay. Got a nice light burr, full length. Yes, sir, Bob. Okay. Let me go clean that steel off that knife. So off the stone, we've removed quite a bit of steel. Any little pieces of burr fragment that may have broke loose, I don't want to ram that edge into them as I'm creating a new edge. Alrighty. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start refining that burr. Flip it real quick. With steels like this, people make the mistake of taking them to way too fine of a grit. Steel like this shouldn't ever be maybe in the kitchen, but not in a EDC type scenario. This steel should not ever be more than 320. Ever. Getting my scratch pattern the way I want it. Okay, bird's been flipped. You can actually get a lot better performance out of steels like this by simply running them at a more aggressive grit range and not taking them very fine. Taking them fine really harms the performance potential of this steel and steels like this. You're going to get a lot better performance from a more aggressive edge than you would, say, a 3,000 grit edge, or even a 1,000 grit for that matter. Personally, at the absolute max 600, but realistically, in my opinion, a steel like 5CR should never be above 320. That's going to let the steel perform its best. That's going to give you, nice aggressive micro serrations to do the cutting. And it's just going to perform a lot better for you. refining that burr away. Very light passes. Each time filling that bevel when I'm lining up the edge to get that bevel exactly on that bevel, son. Kissing the apex with the stone. Working that burr away. Being extra careful to make sure that I do not deviate from the angle that I've set the edge bevel at. And it's very important as you're refining that burr away, you want to do wider and lighter passes. And eventually you're going to get to the point where you're only doing edge leading with lighter and lighter alternating passes. And that should be pretty good. Like I said, cold steel. Whoever's doing these knives for cold steel, the 7CR is done pretty deep. I mean, the 5CR is done decently. You know, don't expect a ton of performance out of it, but it performs decently. And for the money, you can't really ask for much more. See if I can get it to show you all this edge. Maybe if I hide that reflection, maybe it'll pick the edge up. No, it's not gonna do it. Let's see if I can... I'll show you guys under the microscope. Still feel a little bit of burr there. Okay. Very light passes right now. Literally just letting the apex of the knife kiss the stone. So gently. Okay. Should be good. See, me, I'm the kind of person who wants to get the knife as sharp as possible on the stone. I don't want to depend on the strop to get the knife sharp. And the reason that is because every stropping pass you make, you're losing a little teeny bit of bite. And I want bite. Yes, I want a lot of bite in this edge. Now, I'm going to go to a strop. Just going to go to some 9-micron diamond on basswood. And I'm going to strop it exactly the angle I've set the bevel at. That's going to pull off any of that remaining burr.
Oh my God, I'm moving. Oh my God.
Being able to feel that nice flat bevel lock against the... Sorry about that alarm. Being able to feel that nice flat bevel lock against the strop or the stone is so much nicer than that convex crap from the factory. Okay. That should be nice and sharp. And it is. Oh yeah. So that's your bite. Before I cut it, do any cutting, I'm going to do a slight refinement on some leather with 2-micron diamond. But I want to keep stropping to an absolute minimum. I'm just doing this to bring up the keenness ever so slightly without, killing my aggression. We got a nice, super aggressive, super toothy edge. This is not no super fine edge by any means. This is not no super keen edge by any means. This edge is all about bite. 220 grit stone finish, couple passes on 10 micron, couple passes on 2 micron. You've got nice, sticky edge. I mean, you just got a lot of bite. Like this is not an edge that you can really slide your fingers down and it not cut you. Like I'm just ever so lightly touching, like it's cutting my first layer of skin. It's all about those teeth. Yeah, it's a very, very good edge. Not the keenest, most sharpest edge in the world, but when I'm out cutting like belling twine and stuff like that, I don't want a super keen, slick edge. I want really aggressive micro serration so it just digs in and cuts whatever I'm doing. I don't want it to slip and cut. I want it to dig in and cut. I've never been one that liked. Now I'm not saying I don't like mirror edges and really high grit edges. I do, as long as the steel does well with them. But I'm the type of person that when I go to cut something, I want the knife to bite and slice. I don't want it to slip and cut through it. I want it to dig in and cut through it. It's safer. To me, it cuts easier. Super high grit, super keen edges, they have their place in the kitchen, but not in pocket knives unless the steel, like 15B for example. 15B is a steel that does really well with a very high grit edge. It maintains, and it's got all that carbide volume, so you got those carbides that are really bringing that bite up and aggression up, even though the micro serrations from the high grit stone are very teeny. You have them carbides really doing their work. So 15B, great steel to put a super high grit mirror on. But there's not a lot of steels like that. Most steels, in my opinion, do better at lower grit. Perfect example would be Maximet. Maximet, it's the epitome of a super steel that hates a mirror, or not even a mirror, hates a polished edge. It hates 1,000 grit. It hates even 600. I mean, it does okay with 600 grit, but I would say 600 grit's the max for that steel to get good performance from it. At 1,000 grit, it's terrible. However, at 320 grit, even 220 grit, it's absolutely fantastic. Like a Maximed off of a DMT extra course. Oh, buddy, that is going to be one shredder of an edge, and that will last for an unbelievably long amount of time. However, say you finish that on a, an F800 Veneve or an F1200 Veneve stone, and that edge on that Maximed is going to perform absolutely horrible. And a lot of people hate really badly on that steel because of that. They get it, they put a high grit edge on it, and it performs terrible. And they're like, this stuff doesn't have great edge retention. It's not what it's said to be. It's not all this. Because it performs terribly with the polish, with the high polish. However, you take that and you put like a Veneve F100, F150 grit edge on it, and Maximet is one of the highest performance steels there is, when it comes to just outright edge retention. And it'll give anything out there a run for its money. You take Spyderco Maximet, and it literally, in production knives, it's going to pretty much outcut anything out there. I mean, Rex 121 from Spyderco, yeah, it'll outcut it. That's about it. And that is it. Hell, I mean, Maximet outperforms 15V, and 15V has got the edge retention of that stuff is just unbelievable. And Maximet puts it to shame. So don't, just make sure you finish the steel how it wants to be finished in order to perform as it can. These type steels, very, very simple alloys. Don't run them at high grits, and you'll start to appreciate the performance more of them. Like, people hate so badly on 8CR, 7CR, 5CR. And I get it. But if it's done well, if the steel's heat treated nicely, this is a prime example, it is. This is a good heat treated piece of 5CR. If you finish the edge how it wants to be finished to get the performance out of that steel that steel can give you, it will give you a lot more than you would think. If you go listen to people or read forums or, go on, read comments, read Reddit, you would think 5CR is going to go dull after you cut just a couple pieces of whatever. Like, you cut one box with it and it's done. But that's just not the truth. If you put the edge on that steel that it wants, it'll get most people through a week of use easily. I'd say the average person could probably get through a month on one edge on this knife and never have a dull edge. At the end of the month, they may need 2 or 3 stroppings over that month, and they've always got a sharp edge in their pocket. But a lot of people don't believe that because they get it. They get home. They get home with that steel. The first thing they do is run it up the stones. They reprofile it. And then they finish it 5,000 grit, and they make a few cuts with it, and that upfront sharpness is gone. And these steels don't have very much. Their working edge will not last very long. Once that upfront sharpness dies off, that edge is going to go quick. But with those real high grit finishes, even 1,000 grit on something like this, that steel cannot hold. It's not hard enough to hold that upfront sharpness. And the steel composition doesn't have carbide formers in it to create aggression to make for a long-lasting working edge. So once that upfront sharpness is gone, which is going to go quick because of the, it's not very hard, that edge is gone. That's it. You don't got no teeth from the scratch pattern to create aggression, so that edge is done. Now, if you finish the edge at a fairly low grit to create a nice aggressive tooth pattern, you've got that you've got some tooth structure to do the cutting once that initial upfront sharpness starts to fall off. Then you've got that aggression in the edge to keep cutting. And that's how you get performance out of these steels. All right. I've talked to you guys 40 minutes. Y'all have a good night.